Hey everybody, it's Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where we're split on handhelds versus consoles. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. I know we talked about this a little bit before the show, fellas. Either of you saving up to get a Switch 2 that comes out soon?
Nah, your boy got rent. Your boy got priorities. That will deplete the account. I am so good.
Oh, man.
I wore the Super Mario shirt. I'm probably, I don't know if I'll get it immediately, but yeah, Nicolette loves playing the Switch. We play like Mario Kart together and stuff. So they're new. That's the first game that's coming out. So I probably will.
Yeah, I got a Switch. It was a Valentine's Day gift from my wife. And like for the first month, 6 weeks or so, like I played it the least of anybody in the house. Recently I've sort of pulled rank because I bought MLB The Show 25 and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm trying to build my franchise up. So, you know, it's nice. Dad's turn to play, basically is what it is. There was a conversation about whether or not we get a Switch 2, and I'm kind of like, when I saw the price tag, like, we can wait on it. We're fine for now.
A month of groceries or no groceries? Just video games.
Month, like a week of groceries, man. Like what? What are we doing?
After today, that's the day of groceries.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
oh my God, the times we're in.
Yeah, but you know, we'll see. I'm sure. What? They'll have like a football game, right? Well, I don't. Does Madden exist for the Switch? I have no idea. I don't think it does.
It does.
Does it?
I think when I had my Switch and it didn't get taken over by my son as well. I think there was a Madden Switch game on there.
All right.
Yeah, actually, it is.
Yeah. All right. You know what?
I was going to get FIFA.
There you go. Honestly, FIFA video game is always fun. Like all the versions of it have been really fun. So that should be cool. Yeah, I was like Googling it. I said Madden Switch and it immediately popped up Switch 2. So I guess it is in the works. Which, you know, the other part of that, our colleague Scott Hansen is going to be the new in-game voice for the upcoming Madden. So 7 hours of commercial-free video game football start now.
I'm sure every fourth quarter is going to be called the Witching Hour.
It's got to be, right?
Yes.
Yep. We're going to have the Witching Hour show up there when wins become losses, losses become wins, all that good stuff. So
I haven't heard that in 4 months.
A new voice, a new old voice, a new familiar voice, I guess, if you buy Madden coming up in 2026. So, should be, or 2025, I guess it is. 26? I think it comes out in 25. They call it 26.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
25 just came out last year. So, yeah.
Right. Right. We'll get all our days and our years all straightened out in just a bit. A little bit of a lighter show today. We're going to go through the tight end portion of the NFL draft. Just a peek behind the curtain here. Running back, wide receiver, very deep positions. Felt like they deserved 2 shows apiece. Didn't necessarily want to split it up over a Thursday and then carry it over to next week. So we'll do tight ends today. Next week, we will have running backs in 2 weeks. We will do wide receivers. Right now, we are tentatively scheduled to have our friend Matt Harmon come on. He have Reception Perception to talk about the wide receivers for one of those 2 shows. And so we're offering a few other guests that you may or may not have heard on this show before, but to help us out with some of our draft previews as well. So we'll dive into tight ends. Admittedly, it's not a super deep position, at least when it comes to fantasy relevance, but we'll try to pick apart some of the guys here that could end up making an impact for your fantasy team, maybe this year, maybe in a year or 2. So we'll figure that out. We do have the update on our rookie QB bracket. Laquan, have you gotten over Bo Nix's defeat?
I'm still in the comments defending Bo because I'm a Bo leaver, but you know, it's all good. I think people just misunderstood of the bracket. So it's like, okay, cool.
They didn't get the
was
assignment.
At his birthday party. That's what
Bo Nix, Bo Callahan, same guy, apparently. You get that reference now. Laquan, you get that reference now because you've seen Draft Day.
Yeah, I was about to say I've seen Draft Day, so we are completed.
All right. But anyway, we will go through the next round of the QB bracket. In fact, we are down to the championship matchup, which I think is going to be incredibly entertaining, at least to watch the numbers slowly go up on the online poll that we're going to put out. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But a couple of news headlines, admittedly. This is a slower part of the NFL calendar, but a couple things sort of worth diving into here. First one being in Denver. Sean Payton says he believes Evan Ingram can fill the Joker role in the Broncos offense. So I guess that means he's sort of the new Taysom Hill. I guess. I mean, Florio, one, are you buying it? And two, does that mean you're going to suddenly buy into Evan Ingram again in Denver?
No, I'm not. I could be bought into Evan Ingram at the right cost. Like if he is a borderline tight end one, sure, I could get excited for that because he could be the number 2 target behind Courtland Sutton. But every single offseason, we hear that a new player is going to be playing this Joker role in these offenses, and everyone gets excited, and it leads to no good. Like, remember it was going to be Cordero Patterson with the Steelers, and I forget who else. Like, there's been a bunch of times where we've heard this. All this means is that you're not good enough to play a normal role. That's what my takeaway is. But Evan Ingram is good enough to be your every down tight end one. Just please leave him in that. Hey, look, if you want to give him a couple of cool touches where you let him do a couple of different things here and there, sure, that doesn't hurt. But when you try to make a player Taysom Hill when they don't have a Taysom Hill skill set, it never works.
Or even a Taysom Hill type build. I mean, like Taysom Hill's built like a truck, man. Like Evan Ingram is not physically the same player as Taysom Hill. So to try to slot him into that role seems a little bit weird. But I mean, Laquan, Sean Payton really does want to get a tight end involved. I mean, we saw those years in New Orleans, aside from the Taysom Hill headache there was always a guy that seemed to have a little bit of life. And I thought maybe it would happen again in Denver. I admit I was a Greg Dulcich guy. That doesn't seem to have popped the way I thought it would. They brought Adam Troutman in to try to make him a thing. That hasn't really happened. But we have seen Evan Ingram have success. So at least is there reason to think, I'm not going to get crazy with it, but maybe we bump Evan Ingram up our draft boards around or so now that he's in Denver.
Maybe. Only because that, Evan Ingram coming from Jacksonville, he put on good tape. He had great numbers, even in the 9 games that he had last season, he still was be able to have some useful games. He put up 100 yards in week 6. So it's one of those things like, okay, he still has it and he just suffered that injury. Now Sean Payton goes out and gets his guy. This should be the tight end for him because last season, neither one of those tight ends on that roster had over 200 yards. Really disgusting work there when you look at it. So obviously there is a need for a tight end and you go out and get an Evan Ingram, which I think he could still produce, even though he's a 30-year-old tight end. It's fine. He's still able to go out there and run routes. He's still able to show up in the blocking game and the run game. He's still able to be the overall tight end with the perfect balance that he has been in Jacksonville. It's just a matter is Sean Payton telling the truth? Is he going to rotate Adam Troutman? Is he going to rotate another tight end that we have no idea and say, is that even a real person? It's one of those things that I can't trust in fantasy, especially if his name is on the board and around where I need a tight end and I'm fishing for a tight end. I will be a little hesitant because I cannot trust Sean Payton.
When you said, can we trust him? Did we all just say Marvin Mims? Did we all, did Marvin Mims just pop into everybody's head at that moment?
It was Marvin Mims, Audric Estime, like the list goes on of just the lies after lies.
So here's my favorite one. I Googled this from on NFL.com. June 1st, 2023. Sean Payton's vision for tight end Greg Dulcich could potentially be beyond just playing tight end and taking on the Joker position. This isn't even the first time he's lied about using a tight end this way.
So basically any tight end is the Joker for
insanity.
If I'm Evan Ingram, I'm showing up dressed like Heath Ledger to training camp.
That's wild. Yeah. That would be amazing. That would be incredibly amazing.
Actually.
I mean, that is sort of wild though, that you're able to kind of dig that up, right? It's sort of like any pass catching running back that played for Ron Rivera was Christian McCaffrey. Right? Any running back who could even sort of catch the ball out of the backfield, like Ron Rivera's like, yeah, we can use him as a Christian McCaffrey type. And I was like, no, you can't. No.
Any wide
can't.
receiver that could run after the catch, all you hear, oh, well, this guy's like Debo Samuel.
He's Debo Samuel. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we got to be better than this, right? We got to be smarter than this, that it just doesn't necessarily work that way. But, and I'll throw this out, I think what does work in Evan Ingram's favor, forget all this Joker stuff, right? I'm not buying into that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think, suddenly we're going to see the Broncos running Wildcat with Evan Ingram at the goal line. Like, I'm not anticipating that. But what I do think works for him is the fact that beyond Courtland Sutton, who gets targets in this offense?
Yeah.
Right? Who gets targets in the offense? Sutton, we know, is going to get his. Marvin Mims is like Schrodinger's cat. He either is or isn't alive, depending on the day and what Sean Payton feels like. Laquan, I know you like Devon Vele, and look, he had some moments last year. I'm not going to deny that. He had some moments last year. Yeah. I'm not convinced that he is that heavy of a target earner that I have to be worried for Evan Ingram. So my concern is overall, what does the Broncos passing game look like? How much do they put on the arm of Bo Nix, who obviously had a very good rookie season? How much do they put on his arm? And, who are the secondary pieces? And the way I sit here and look at it, Courtland Sutton is your number one target. I think Evan Ingram is number two. And I think that goes a long way toward making him at least relevant.
I was going to say the scary part too with that is that third option could be a running back, because we already know he's going to try to get that involved as well. So somebody's going to be sharing that pie. And this is what makes it a little bit dangerous, or even drafting Evan Ingram to begin with, because he's not going to be a focal point in most games. Like, it's going to be one of those carousels of rotating the players, and he's just going to have an important role on specific drives and specific plays. Like, this is just how Sean Payton operates. Like, I just don't know how to take it.
Cam Scadaboo, I mean, if he ends up in Denver, he's going to be their number two target. But I look at, so right now, Vele, who I know you like, Laquan, listed as the starting slot guy. So number one is Sutton. The other competition for out wide number two is Mims, Troy Franklin, and Trent Sherfield. Like, A.T. Perry as well. Like, just give Marvin Mims the opportunity, please.
Please, for the love of God.
I think we would all like for that to happen. Look, if you still believe in the third-year breakout, which was a big thing for fantasy wide receivers for a long time, this is year 3 for Marvin Mims. I think what is key for him is introducing himself to Sean Payton. Just walk up to him
every day
and just say, "Hi, Coach. My name is Marvin Mims. I know you've seen me around the building a few times. I wear number 19 when I'm on the field. I think I'm a good pass catcher. I think I can be a vertical threat for you. I think I can get open. I would like some more opportunity, please. Ike has more targets."
Every day, every morning you see him make it like 50 first dates.
50 first dates, exactly.
Every day make him fall in love with you until he gets you on the field and remembers you. Because, wow, it's amazing that he's just sitting on the sideline, just cooking with so much talent.
When I woke up this morning, I didn't think we'd compare Sean Payton to Drew Barrymore, but here we are.
His final 5 games, he was on pace for almost 1,200 yards. Like, just give him an opportunity.
Insane.
Yeah. But, at least until we see that happen, then, I still believe there is a path for Evan Ingram. Top 8 tight end, potentially? Is that the ceiling? Top 8?
Is that too high? I don't know. We got some tight ends that we're going to talk about, these prospects that might be sitting in there as well. So,
all right. Yeah.
I won't draft him that high, but I think he can finish that high.
Yeah, no, I see. That's the thing. I don't think the asking price in drafts is going to be a top 8 tight end, but I do think that if everything breaks right, he can finish in the top 8.
There's going to be people who in this summer are like, no, he can't finish top 8. And we do this yearly. And then you look at the top 8 tight ends at the end of the year and you're like,
Jonnu Smith, baby.
Yeah, right.
Outside of Laquan, no one thought Jonnu Smith was going to do what he tight end is such a weird, and it's one where it's so volume dependent. If Courtland Sutton gets hurt or something like that and Evan Ingram is getting 10 targets a game, he's easily going to be a top 8.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about that big season he had in Jacksonville. How do you think it happened, right? They had so many injuries in that wide receiver room that at times Evan Ingram was kind of the last man standing. And, it's not to take away from his talent, but opportunity was huge for him in 2022. Yeah. And that's how he finished in the top 5. And so, sure, there's definitely a strand of the multiverse where that happens again, right? Where something happens to one of the Broncos receivers and they do have to lean on Evan Ingram.
Zach Ertz was a top 8 tight end. Pat Freiermuth was the tight end 9. Like, we weren't excited at any point last year for Pat Freiermuth.
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember him playing or catching a ball.
Well, that's because, as Najee Harris told us, the Steelers didn't have an offensive identity.
That old Arthur Smith is at it again. He just hates the tight end position.
Yeah, apparently it's not just a Kyle Pitts thing. Apparently he just hates tight ends.
Yeah, he hates the starter. Let's just put that clear. He hates the starter because, John New, he was the guy in Atlanta.
Oh, man. I go back to 2017 when Jason Witten was a top 10 fantasy tight end, and pretty much all he did was catch the ball and fall down. And he still finished as a top 10.
It's kind of exactly this year.
Yards after the catch, 11.
Right, exactly. So, all right, well, it's going to be interesting to watch sort of how this happens. And whatever we think we know, Sean Payton's going to do the opposite because he hates our fantasy teams.
Yes.
Did you think
Roger Goodell said recently? What's that?
Did you think we'd spend 15 minutes on that?
I did not think we'd spend this much time on Evan Ingram. It's funny. I said before the show, I said this is it's kind of a light rundown. I don't know. Ideally, this is a 40 to 45 minute show, but knowing us, I'm going to look up and the clock's going to be at like 50 some odd minutes. And we're on pace. We are on pace.
Nice.
Roger Goodell said recently that they have not made a decision just yet on NFL players participating in flag football in the 2028 Olympics, but they do expect to make a decision on that soon. I know it seems kind of fun, right? Like we sit around here and we talk about like, ooh, how awesome would it be to watch people from other countries try to run around and catch Lamar Jackson or, watch them try to line up on Justin Jefferson or something like that. But I mean, Laquan, is this actually a good idea to have NFL players playing flag football in the Olympics?
Yes. I mean, look, we got the NBA players. They go overseas and they represent our country. Like, I would love to see football out there, competing for flag football. Like, I want to see these guys actually go out there and compete. Like, the Pro Bowl is what it is now. But when you add it against when you add it against different countries, and it's like, okay, there's some pride that goes into this. But like you said, I would love to see people try to stop Lamar Jackson. I would love to see people to stop Devon Achane or even try to stop Patrick Mahomes and how creative he could be. Because flag football, man, like there is some level of competition there where you could take that serious. Because me playing in the past, like there's some trash talk that goes in there, and you can't really tackle them and take your anger out. But it's more of those things like you could just show how competitive you could be. So I think it's a good idea. I think it would be very entertaining.
Forget obviously there's the one big red flag, right, Florio? It's like you send your NFL player out there and he gets hurt and he misses the season because he's playing flag football. I mean, let's put that aside, right?
Yeah. It's for every sport, though. It's
for every sport, not to mention the fact that, look, I, as a baseball fan, baseball has a history of just weird ass injuries of, like
the weirdest.
They have the weirdest injuries, right? Dudes getting locked in tanning booths and people falling off their trucks while trying to wash them. I mean, players ironing their jerseys while wearing them, allegedly. Like, baseball has a whole bunch of weird injuries we can get into. It feels like, though, flag football is very different from NFL football, right? We're like, at least in basketball, like, I know the international rules are slightly different, but the game is still kind of the game. And there are people, men and women, who just focus strictly on flag football. Like, I do wonder whether or not there's an adjustment period for NFL players to sort of change their mindset and their style of play to fit the flag football mold.
That was my biggest takeaway. Like, one, I agree with Laquan. Like, I'm going to watch. I'm going to be very entertained. I want to see all of the best players in the world doing their thing. And it seems like I love, like, Olympic basketball is maybe my favorite sport. Like, I love the Olympics and World Baseball Classic. I'm really excited for next year, all of that. But yeah, to your point, Marcus, World Baseball Classic plays under regular rules. The FIBA rules are slightly different, but it's like not really. Like, it's still the same game, you know? Flag football, like Laquan, I've played it. It's very different from regular football. You can't run through people. It's all about cuts and jukes and stuff. So that's why I'm a little bit more fearful of injury with this, because you're trying to do something that you don't normally do on a football field. Yeah. And like, I know people, I forget his name, the quarterback who won with Team USA, the flag gold or whatever. And he was like, I'm better at flag football than Patrick Mahomes. And everyone makes fun of him. Maybe quarterback isn't the position to say that with, but like, yeah, like instead of being able to lower my shoulder and run through you, now I got to try to juke and run around you and stuff. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm here for it. But this, to me, my original thought when I saw this question was like, it's a good idea until it's not. And it probably takes one key injury, and then teams are like, nope, no more.
Yeah, I do so. The other part of this is, for me in the Olympics, I do sort of like also the fact that you get to know the names of people that you had never otherwise known, right? Like every year in the Olympics, there's always an athlete or two in a sport that maybe we don't follow regularly that comes out and has a huge appearance, a huge Olympic tournament, and they kind of get to become celebrities for a little bit, right? And they get to be, kind of a big deal. Like I think about, immediately coming to mind, the U.S. women's rugby team from this past Olympics, and Ilona Maher, who became kind of a star, right? Because like we watched her and she was a little bit Marshawn Lynch out there, right? Like literally just running through a mother's face over and over and over again, right? Like that was kind of cool. And I think it was Steven Nedorosik, the gymnast with the glasses that everybody kind of got to know a little bit, right? Like after the Olympics, they ended up on Dancing with the Stars, and like that was kind of cool. And like, yeah, it would be fun to watch Lamar Jackson humiliate, somebody from another country the way he does linebackers on a regular basis. But like, we've seen Lamar Jackson be a star. Like, I do kind of want other people to get a chance to be stars.
To that point, like even the international players that we have in the NFL, they would go represent their countries for the other teams. Like that would be super cool to see. Like I would love to see like some of the guys that are just backups or, on the practice squad have the opportunity to start and play for their country, because I feel like that pride, like if I can go out there and represent my country and I'm putting on and I beat Patrick Mahomes, like, yeah, we won the Olympic gold over your Patrick Mahomes, and then go back to the States with that medal and kind of celebrate and be braggadocious about it. Like, I think that would be a cool experience for somebody.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be kind of fun.
Jacob Johnson, friend of the show.
Yeah, man.
Playing Germany.
Playing for Germany. I was trying to dig up a
the backup for the Chiefs. I think he was the first Nigerian quarterback that had the opportunity to start for a team, but I forget his name. It's like Chadwick something. I'm like blanking right now.
I mean, would Jimmy Garoppolo play for Italy?
Ooh. If it's anything like World Baseball Classic, where Italy's like, if your name ends in a vowel, come play.
Yeah, well,
Brandon Nimmo playing, who's born and raised in Wisconsin.
They got a little bit lax with that in the World Baseball Classic, where it was almost like, if you've ever eaten at an Italian restaurant, like you can come play with us or something like that. Like
Mario Balotelli almost didn't play for Italy, but he was a resident adopted, so he was able to play. They made it a whole big thing.
Yeah, and Joel Embiid has like 3 different countries he could possibly play
Gavin
for.
already came through with it. Italy's quarterback is Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. Oh, yes. Make the shirts right now.
Tommy Cutlets playing for Italy in flag football in the 2028 Olympics.
Put off a big jersey, my guy.
Tommy Cutlets out here slinging it for Italy. Wow. All right, going to dive into some tight end prospects for the draft coming up in a few weeks. About 3 weeks, actually, from today is when the NFL draft kicks off in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Look, I mean, let's just keep it a buck here, right? The narrative for many, many years was that rookie tight ends don't produce in fantasy. That's sort of been blown up, at least the last couple of seasons. Last year, it was Brock Bowers having a phenomenal year. The year before that, it was Sam Laporta doing big things. So it is possible that it could happen. I think it's also fair to say, though, guys, that there aren't a lot of rookie tight ends who are relevant in fantasy, right? That we get one, but that's kind of it.
2, you're almost pushing.
2's kind of pushing it, but I did break it down. I got a handful of guys here and I broke them down into tiers. Tier 1 is an easy one. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. I have been on record multiple times on this show saying that Tyler Warren is the guy that I would like to target in drafts. I get the feeling, Florio, because, you know, we draft with other people who do this and other people who spend a lot of time on this. Is the asking price for Tyler Warren going to be more than I'm willing to pay this summer?
Are you willing to draft him top 10?
Yeah, I could draft him top 10.
Then
I can do that.
I don't think he's going to go top 5 because I think the top 5 is pretty set with, like, you have Bowers and McBride at the top. I think, like, Laporta will go ahead of him. Kittle. You got Andrews or Hawkinson, depending on how you feel about them. But after those guys are off the board, I think Warren could be the next one up, depending on where he lands. Because, like you said, the top tight end in recent years has been a little bit more fantasy friendly. But I think it's more than that. Like, you watch Tyler Warren play, and you're like, yeah, this guy can. One, he's built like a house.
Yes.
Like he's got the size to play in the NFL, the athleticism, he can move, he's got good hands. Like, when I was watching him, I always just write a player that I'm reminded of when I watch him. And I wrote Greg Olson's name down, but then I also wrote he's like George Kittle if George Kittle was Gronk's size, which kind of tell you how, like, I don't think he's going to be like a field stretcher or anything like that, like Kittle can be at times, but he can win in the intermediate, occasionally deep, but this guy's going to be a yak monster in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
Looking at Lance Zierlein's comp for him, because the way you described him, right? You said George Kittle, if he was Gronk's size. Lance Zierlein has Jeremy Shockey, which I think sort of fits. Which sort of fits, right? An athletic tight end, who can contribute to the running game, but his biggest value is going to be as a pass catcher, because he was a lot of times, if not the entire offense for Penn State, a really good chunk of it, at least the passing game. He was a big part of what Penn State did this past year. So LQ, I have been the person who the last few years has decided, like, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to take a tight end early, right? I'm going to get one of the top 5 guys because I just don't want to have to deal with it. But is Tyler Warren the guy to make me change my mind?
You could be, but just have your expectations, a little bit hesitant based on landing spot. And honestly, like, I appreciate his versatility. He could throw the ball, wildcat, and all that stuff. We like, to be real, we might not see none of that. We might flash, one game out of the season, but that's not what he's going to probably be doing in the NFL. It's more so you appreciate it about him. Like, he's a very balanced tight end. So more so the landing spot will have to matter a ton before I take him off the board for any draft this summer. Like, honestly, he going to the Saints, I would like that. I will understand that he will be a focal point. They need help as pass catchers. Chris Olave, he's dealt with some injuries in the past. He's in the satchel of discontent. My bad.
The satchel of discontent. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in there.
Yeah.
He's trying to get out. But more so, he needs to be a focal point in the offense for me to take him off the board where he's going to go after the Hawks, after the Andrews and stuff, because these are proven guys. So he could change your mind, because if he goes somewhere he could be a focal point and have a high target share, then I'm bumping him over Hawk. I'm bumping him over Andrews. I'm bumping up even maybe over Kittle just going into this summer.
Talk about him throwing the football. Could he be a joker? Could
don't you put that on him? No.
Could he go to Denver and be a joker, maybe?
Please don't do that. No. I'd rather him go to the Jets. Let's put it like that. Jets have the opportunity to snag him off the board as well.
They do. And the Jets have not had a feasible fantasy tight end in my life.
I can't remember.
I'm not even saying that like as an exaggeration. They have not really ever had a notable fantasy tight end in my years on this earth. They have just, for the most part, punted on the position for a good stretch. They really have. They really just kind of punted on the position for a good stretch of it. I was going to suggest, I don't know if there's enough targets there. I was going to suggest him going to the Rams, but one, he's not going to be available. He'll be gone long before then. But even then, he's not.
The other guy might be there.
Aren't targets. We'll get to the other guy in just a sec. I mean, Flora, is he a can't miss regardless of landing spot, or is he going to be dependent on who drafts him to be relevant in that first year?
I think he will be relevant in year one, regardless of where he goes. I think the landing spot will determine how relevant. Like, is he a weekly streaming type, or is he an every week starter? Like, I don't see him being someone that's just on waivers all year because we can't use him. Like, he's far too good for that, I think. And like, if you put him in the right spot, he could be getting drafted well within the top 10. If you put him in a spot where it's very crowded or something like that, I think it'll be something similar to what like Brock Bowers was last year. Because remember, we were like, he's behind Devontae Adams. They have Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayers there. And that led to Bowers being drafted as like a more of a high-end tight end too. But he was still drafted in most leagues. So I think worst case scenario for Warren is something like that.
Yeah. I'm glad Brock Bowers worked out. It still makes me a little bit sad because I thought Michael Mayer really did have
the
a
Raiders
path
should just take Warren at
towards
6.
Well, but they can't because they're going to take Ashton Genty at 6.
How
Just play a
toxic
whole
can you be?
Just play a whole tight end offense,
Yeah.
the all tight end offense there for
I
them.
mean, the Rams will take Michael Mayer. Make the trade. Let's do it.
Here's a wild one for you guys.
What's that?
The Panthers at 8.
I was just about to say that. I'm like looking, I was like, how much do you guys love Jatavian Sanders? Like, how much do you believe in Jatavian Sanders? Because if not, Tyler
like
Warren at
him.
8
I
makes
like
a lot of
Sanders,
sense.
but move over. He would be the number one target there.
He would be the number one target there.
But it's up for grabs. But man, I would hate that for him. I would hate that for Jalen Coker. I would hate that for Xavier Leggett. Like, don't do that. Panthers, please don't do that. You'll mess up everything. Don't do that.
The other spot that could be interesting, and I don't think they're gonna do it just because they have so many more needs, would be Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Having moved on from Evan Ingram, putting him in
5 is high
Jacksonville.
for tight end, unless you're
Yeah,
Kyle
I don't see them making that move at 5. It doesn't necessarily make sense for them.
I think they trade down.
But in terms of, what it would mean to the offense, I think it's a good fit.
The Colts are another team I've heard rumored like tied to them
Colts.
because
Yeah.
they've been searching for a tight end for like 8 years now.
Well,
Yeah.
Mo Cox is gone, and that never
We're-
really worked out.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I know there's like a Mo Alley Cox hive on
There
social
was.
media, but
I was not part of it.
We're not doing that.
Who were the 2 tight end? Dwayne Allen and Kobe Fleener, right?
Kobe
Like that
Fleener.
was the last time
Also-
we were really excited for Colts. tight end.
Hey, put some respect on Jack Doyle's name.
All right, all right.
Jack Doyle. Wow.
Put some respect on Jack Doyle's
It's been
name. He
a
had those.
minute since I
He had
heard
like
that
2
name.
years, 2 seasons where
Eric
like Jack
Ebron,
Doyle
too.
was kind of a thing. Especially if you streamed tight ends, there were the Jack Doyle years there. So let's
Eric Ebron year was wild. This was a
Insane.
touchdown and
Touchdown
nothing.
mania.
Eric Ebron. But the other guy in tier 1, and you alluded to him already, Colston Loveland. And look, the thing about Colston Loveland, one, it's his talent. 2, it's the school he went to, right? Because we have gotten in a mode where recently tight end prospects from Michigan and or Iowa tend to draw our attention because those guys have had instant success in recent years. Lance Zierlein's comp for him is Sam Laporta. Speaking of guys who went to Iowa, Laquan, you were sort of hinting at this. Could he be a fit in Sean McVay's offense? But also, are there enough targets for him in that offense now that Devontae Adams is in town?
So that's like a perfect spot that I've been seeing him go at 26 if he's there. Honestly, I'm actually not in love with Loveland. I actually rather we pivot and wait later for another tight end that we're going to probably talk about. But Loveland just has size, man. To me, he's a big target. And if he gets utilized properly, he could fit in the McVay offense. He could fit in another offense like the Titans or maybe the Houston Texans. But it's more so of like that landing spot is going to be definitely important as well, where he goes, where you'll be taking him off draft boards. Like, I don't see him as close as everybody has him as Tyler Warren. There's a huge gap there for me personally. I feel as though like his landing spot is going to be very dependent on his NFL career. We might be waiting for like a year 2 or year 3 breakout for him because he might end up in a situation where he's going to be sharing that role with somebody.
If we're talking about maybe a landing spot, what about we pair him up with your boy Florio, Jaden Daniels in Washington?
We could do that. I mean, he needs another target there. He could learn from. He would be the fourth tight end to get buried behind Zach Ertz in Zach Ertz's career.
I mean, but how much longer can this happen? Like, he can't keep getting away with this. How much longer can Zach Ertz?
He was supposed to pass the torch last season to Ben Sinnott. So
yeah, I wanted to believe in Ben Sinnott as like a deep sleeper, but I don't know. He might just end up being more of a kind of a blocking H-back sort of guy.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, LQ, though. I don't have Loveland in the same grouping as Warren. Like, to me, there's a clear gap there. Pat Freiermuth was the name I wrote, which, look, Freiermuth is a very good tight end at the NFL level, but he's not elite. And that's kind of what I think Loveland could be. How about we just 22 to the Chargers, let him play with his college coach? Like,
I guess, yeah. But they
need another pass catcher.
Don't they? Yeah.
I mean, I immediately just thought, when you said that, I mean, like, oh, it's just like, it'd be like bringing Hunter Henry back.
The gang's
all
I mean,
here. I say that in the sense of, like, I had such high expectations for Hunter Henry, and he's just never quite reached them. He's been good, bordering on very good for stretches, but it just never really all came together.
It's like, that's your tight end 12 from this past season.
Ooh.
Case in point. I feel like
on the waiver wire for most of the season.
You just validated everything I just said about Hunter Henry. We're like, yeah, it was good. Probably could have been better. It's just kind of been the story of his career. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just the nature of Chargers tight ends, right? Because Gerald Everett was sort of that too, right? Good at times. Probably could have been better overall.
He never really fully got the keys.
Yeah, I guess. And then last year, really just not being a factor at all in Chicago. No. Speaking of Everett, so I mean, I guess I'm with you. Maybe we could have dropped Loveland down to tier 2, which seems like a good way to transition into tier 2. Look, man, all the transitions aren't going to be great here. You just got to roll with what you get sometimes. Mason Taylor. Out of LSU. Now, granted, I think in tier 2, right, you got Mason Taylor, I got Harold Fannin Jr. These are guys that they're not going to be fantasy relevant in redraft leagues. Not this year. Maybe in a couple of years. I don't know, Laquan, does one stand out over the other? You said there's a guy that maybe you think sort of fits somewhere. I mean, which one of the guys, is it one of these two guys that you like?
It could be both. Now, here's my take on it. Mason Taylor, he gives me like Tyler Higbee vibes, where he'll be good in real life football, but won't be a reliable fantasy source, in year one. Like, he just won't be a guy that you can depend on. Like, he has some of the great qualities of a tight end, but a lot of him is just rolling out, red zone presence. That's about it. Try to pin that to 1 week. Good luck. Now with Harold Fannin Jr., like, a lot of people knock him because of his incredible stats and him breaking tight end records and like the nation. But it's like, do you know how hard it is for the opposing team to know the ball's going to you? And he still goes out there and just turns up and does all the incredible things he has done on tape. Like, he has Jonnu Smith DNA in him. And again, I say this, landing spot is going to matter for all these guys. But if he ends up in a great situation, a situation with McVay, where McVay has been chasing this athletic type of tight end for a while now. He had Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee kind of running that 1-2. If he gets him and kind of develops him to be what his masterful vision is for the tight end position, he could have some years ahead of him where he could have a really, really nice, solid, fantasy outing. But the situation and scheme is going to matter a ton for a lot of these tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a guy like Fannin, he is going to have to go to a place where they don't necessarily care about his blocking in the run game.
Yeah.
But I think the downside to that is that I don't know that he is going to be productive enough as a pass catcher to get a pass on that. I think especially coming in, you're going to be asked to block, to contribute in the run game, and occasionally get some opportunities. Like, he's not Brock Bowers, right? Like, Brock Bowers is a good blocker, but if he wasn't, what he gives you as a pass catcher is so good that, if you're the Raiders, you can sort of overlook that, right? Harold Fannin's not that guy, right? He can't he can't just win you over with his offensive ability. So I think that is going to be sort of an obstacle to him getting on the field consistently. And like I'm trying to look at a team that could use a guy in that role, and I'm not seeing one necessarily.
It's hard
I
to
just don't
pinpoint where he can go.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know where he could go where they'll just give him that freedom to do that. I don't know if does either one of these guys move the needle for you, Florio.
Yeah, I was not huge on Mason Taylor watching him. It was just a lot of like screens and rollouts, and he doesn't even like break tackles or be shifty after the catch. Like he would whatever space was in front of him, that's what he was going to get you. Like, and that's cool and all, but like to me, it wasn't a needle mover. But Fannin, I liked, because like Laquan said, he was the clear go-to guy for this team. Like whenever they need it was a big down or late in the game or whatever. He's who they're looking at, and teams still weren't able to stop that. The name that I wrote down for him was Dalton Kincaid, because like Kincaid, I think he moves more like a receiver than a tight end. He's undersized a little bit, but run blocking his issues and stuff. But like he can win downfield. He's a yak guy. Like he needs a little bit more development, I think, in year one than a Kincaid did. But that's the player that just kept coming to mind, and that's kind of the role, because like the Bills pull Kincaid off on running plays. Like that's Dawson Knox's job, you know. So like I think if you put Fannin in the right setup and the right build, he could have a lot of success at the next level.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when you compare somebody to Dalton Kincaid, considering by the end of the year you wanted to put him on a block of ice and just ship him out into the middle of the ocean. So
he's in the satchel.
he is very much in the satchel of discontent. I think these are guys for whom landing spot is going to matter supremely over everything else, just because I think their path to getting on the field and being contributors, especially in year one, is going to be very, very limited. By the way, you failed to mention that Mason Taylor is the son of former Dolphin Jason Taylor.
That's why his football IQ is pretty high. Yeah, his football IQ is pretty high. Like he knows where to be on the field, and he's a chain mover. So these are good qualities of a tight end that you want. But for fantasy, it's just not going to translate for happiness.
Yeah, his father's Jason Taylor. His uncle is Zach Thomas, by the way.
You're going to be so pissed off. Like, please, our listeners, please do not
like
draft
good versus zone. A lot of concerns versus man. Like and that's the football IQ in him. Like,
yeah. Just knowing how to get open, how to find that empty space, and that sort of thing. The next tier of guys, I feel like, are pretty much like you're a dynasty manager, and you're sort of trying to dig up that diamond in the rough, that guy who could maybe in a couple of years find his way into a streaming role potentially.
I mean,
just kind of
these guys.
A reserve. All right, well, so I got Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm, Thomas Fidone. Which is the one that you like the most, Florio?
Elijah Arroyo. Maybe it's because watching him play, I get to just watch Cam Ward again. But I get it. Like he's missed a lot of time due to injury and stuff, and there are areas of his game that needs work. But like he is he's a good yak option. He's a smooth, natural runner. Like and more than these other tight ends, he can win downfield and was used downfield and has that big body, can be used in the red zone. So again, landing spot, how he's used, all of that is going to greatly matter. But just watching him play, I liked him more than Mason Taylor personally.
Oh wow! Yeah. All right. I mean, you seem to be on board with Arroyo as well.
Hot take. I think he could be a day one, year one contributor if he lands in Jacksonville. Yes, because Florio hit the nail on the head. Evan Ingram wanted to be used more downfield. Now with Liam Cohen, he's definitely going to be able to use a tight end. It's not going to be Brenton Strange. I understand he flashed last season, but if they draft Elijah Arroyo, boy, that starting job is going to be his. Speed, agility, like he could do it all, and he plays tough. So it's like one of those things. You put the rock in his hand, you're going to get 9 yards. Like that's nearly what he had per reception. Like it's insane about him being a third option, but his ceiling could be so much higher if he gets that opportunity.
I mean, I will say there are targets to be had in Jacksonville, right? I mean, Brian Thomas was amazing last year. Evan Ingram only played 9 games because of injury. But beyond that, there just was nowhere else that you felt like they were consistently going with the football. I mean, what? Your team, Parker Washington, I know, LQ.
Yeah.
Like,
he has to survive the draft. I mean, that I haven't been very vocal lately about it because he has to survive the draft. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, side note, we'll talk about wide receivers in a couple of weeks, but like, could you see a Ted McMillan maybe land in Jacksonville, and how much would that break your heart?
Man, that definitely breaks my heart, man. Because it just would just be like, yep, you're done. Delete off of dynasty rosters.
Yeah. Ted McMillan going to Jacksonville, I think, is RIP potentially for Parker Washington, at least for this year, for sure. All right. Like I said, it's the tight end position. I know that for a lot of us, it's going to be speculative. I think in fantasy drafts this year. Yeah. Warren's going to be a guy that everybody sort of wants. I think Loveland's going to draw a lot of interest for people, but beyond that, it's going to be very speculative, and it is going to have a big
Gunnar
impact.
Helm. We forgot to mention him too.
I
look at him as a guy that he could probably be like an Austin Hooper, like at his ceiling. Like he gives off like tough mentality, but like he makes some bonehead moves. Like expect some yo laundry with him. Like he has to develop a little bit more, but I could put a chip on him in Dynasty, hoping for like a year 3 breakout, but there's not much, ceiling for him in fantasy right now. So
yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing with Dynasty tight ends, right? Unless you're targeting those guys at the top, you really do have to be prepared to just sit and wait for 2-3
some of them have the good traits, and like he could be a huge contributor for a team. It's just one of those things, like he has nowhere to go right now where that can happen for him. Like he's not going to be better than the guy they already got there.
As you're talking, there's one name that came to mind. Albert Okuyabunim.
Oh man.
Alberto.
I bought in. I bought in a big way. I spent all one summer learning how to properly pronounce his name because I figured I was going to be saying it a lot. I was not saying it a lot. Which again, sometimes dynasty tight ends work out. Sometimes they don't.
Wait, did Sean Payton hype him up too?
Yeah, I think he was a Sean Payton.
Yeah. He's a liar.
No, I don't think he was a Sean Payton guy. He went to Denver. That might have been
a year later.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a Sean Payton thing. So either way,
he's a liar.
It did not work out. Wait, no, that was Nathaniel.
He was in Denver.
Yeah, it was Nathaniel Hackett. So it did not happen with Sean Payton.
That was he was supposed to be Russ's big guy, right? I think
that's what it was.
That's what it was.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, because I think that's why I got excited, because I'm like, hey, Russ likes the tight end. He wants to get his tight ends involved. Like, this could be a thing. It was not a thing. But then again, Russ was not a thing in Denver either. As we close things out, we have moved on to the finals of the Fantasy Rookie QB Seasons bracket. It's almost like I did this on purpose to line up with the Final Four actually happening in San Antonio this weekend. Weird how every now and then I get one of these things right. It is 1 versus 2, which I guess is fitting, Florio. I mean, we got pretty much chalk all the way around in the men's both tournaments, right? I think on the men's side, it's 4 1 seeds. On the women's side, it's 3 1s and a 2. RIP USC, who knows if it's different if Juju stays healthy. I'm going to hold on to that for a long time. But anyway, in this tournament, it's 1 versus 2. It's Cam Newton versus Jaden Daniels. I guess first, any surprises how the second round went? Cam ran away from Robert Griffin III, and Jaden Daniels blew out Justin Herbert. Any surprises there?
No, I thought the Jaden Daniels blowout might be even bigger. And I thought the Cam RG3 one might be a little closer, but I think from the start, we all kind of envisioned that this would be the finals.
Yeah. I think so. I know, does it make it better or worse for you, Laquan, that RG3 got blown out by Cam Newton after the way he took care of Bo Nix?
That's insane, first of all. Like, the disrespect, bro. And at the end of the day, I get some people just don't understand the lens of what we're looking at, because we're still getting, where's Andrew Luck? Like, we're still getting those comments and the tweets and stuff like, where's Ben Roethlisberger? QB wins do not count for fantasy points.
Don't count for fantasy.
They don't. They just simply don't. I'm just more so of like looking at this, my excitement and understanding of like Bo Nix coming into the season, Robert Griffin III, and even now with this kind of a blowout with Cam versus Robert Griffin, it's not even close. Like, it's just like, what are you looking at?
Yeah. Again, I'm with you, Florio. I thought that'd be a little bit closer. I thought Cam Newton would win. I didn't think he'd win with 72% to 27%, almost 28% for RG3.
Wild.
I thought it'd be, I don't know, maybe a 60-40, something like that. 65-35, something like that. So I was not expecting what we finally got. And I'm also with you. I thought Jaden Daniels, because the way he smoked Kyler Murray, like 93% to it's like 7%. Like I was thinking something more along those lines. But hey, man, apparently the Chargers do have a lot of fans. So he ended up getting more of the vote than I did. So here we are. We're number one, Cam Newton in his 2011 rookie season, over 4,000 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns with 706 rushing yards against Jaden Daniels from this past season, 3,500 passing yards and 25 TDs, 891 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns.
Jinkies.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this one's gonna be close. I think Cam wins, but I think this one's gonna be the first really close matchup we've had in this tournament.
I think Jaden Daniels takes it because
you pulled the upset.
This is going to come down to moments, like how many moments like we got out of these players, and I think recency bias will play into JD's favor. So we shall see.
Yeah, I do think recency bias will help.
I've seen a lot of comments being like, well, these players scored more fantasy points, so they had a better rookie year. And I'm going to argue this for Jaden because I know Cam had 14 more fantasy points, but Cam played the entire year that year. And I know if you look at Jaden's game log, he played the full year, but he did not play the full year. He, against Carolina, played less than 15% of the snaps. He got hurt right away in that one. And then week 17, he played a little bit in the first half and then sat. So if you go by a per game basis and you make it 15 for Jaden, he has the best rookie year any quarterback's ever had. He had more passing touchdowns, more rushing yards. Cam had the advantage in passing yards and rushing touchdowns. But on a per game basis, if you take away the 2 that Jaden was hurt, he was better. And then to LQ's point, like Cam did that. I don't know what their record was that year. I don't believe they were very good.
6-10.
6-10. Yeah, exactly. Jaden, not only did he do what he did, he got them to 12-5 and then into the NFC Championship game and gave the Eagles a legit hard first half until his special teams fumbled it 2 times in a row and gave that game away. Like Jaden, to me, I think is the greatest rookie quarterback we've ever seen, and he deserves to win this contest.
Right, I do think context matters, right? Because Cam obviously had a great year and he ran the ball really, really effectively. He also had 2 really good running backs with him. I mean, he had Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. I don't think that compares to, look, Brian Robinson's a good player. Austin Eckler is sort of on the backside of his career, starting to decline a little bit. Like, I don't think those 2 guys compare to what you were getting from Stewart and Williams. I think you can make a very good case that Terry McLaurin and Steve Smith Sr., I guess he was just Steve Smith then, but Steve Smith were on par with one another. I think those 2 sort of cancel out. I'm not sure, I don't know, does Zach Ertz compare to what Greg Olsen was in 2011? I just think there has to be some context here. Cam scored more points, but
did Olsen have left after that? Because Ertz is at the end of his rope.
Yeah, I don't remember. Ertz is very much about done. For Olsen, he still played another 9 years.
Okay, yeah, so he wins easily.
He played.
I didn't realize Olsen played that much longer.
Yeah, he played until 2020. He had a very forgettable year in Seattle in 2020 that year.
Yeah, he was great up until 2016. So yeah, Cam had the better supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean, he did. So I know all things to just sort of take into account.
They both had McCaffreys. I mean,
they did both have McCaffreys.
One slightly better than the other.
Yep.
Slightly.
Just a little bit.
Cam Newton had 17 interceptions, though, and I was told quarterbacks can't win big awards when they had that many interceptions. So naturally, that takes him out.
What quarterback would you be talking about? I have no idea who you'd be referring to at all. Don't know.
2023 MVP race. I don't know.
Side note to this, speaking of guys named McCaffrey, I'm sure you guys saw all the talk about Cory Booker and the historic filibuster that he had. The part about it that actually has to do with us, I don't know if you saw, he took a shot at Ed McCaffrey, at Christian McCaffrey's dad.
So random.
Just so random because they played together in 1990 at Stanford. Cory Booker was like a second or third string wide receiver. But he says he would have been better than Ed McCaffrey if he had gotten more targets.
Right. Targets are earned, my boy.
He said if he had gotten more opportunity with the Stanford Cardinal, that he would have been a lot better. And I'll say this, I mean, having been alive and actually paying attention to college football, that was not a bad Stanford team. They had Ed McCaffrey. They had a running back named Glenn Milburn, who was kind of a running back, pass catcher, punt returner. Not as fast as, say, a Jahmyr Gibbs, but a guy who could do a little bit of everything. Glenn Milburn was a really good college player. They had a young running back named Tommy Vardell, who later became known as Touchdown Tommy when he scored 34 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons at Stanford. That was a very, very good Stanford team. But there's a reason Cory Booker is working in politics and not, a retired NFL player.
I love though that, look, he's 55 years old. He's had a tremendously successful career in politics, whether you like him or not. Like, he's done a lot in politics and all that. He's just like all of us, though. He's still talking about his glory days back 3 decades ago. Like, I could have went pro if it wasn't for my knee or something like that. Like, they're just like us.
Just like us.
Yeah,
he shouted out the Bills at random. He was like, there's one football team in New York, and it's the Buffalo Bills. So shout out to you, Cory Booker.
You're in full support now.
He also did take a shot at John Lynch and said there's a reason John Lynch did not play quarterback in the NFL.
If I filibustered, I would just rant about sports for the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I would sit around and I would lament the fact that the 1990 Oakland A's somehow were like the greatest team ever, but got swept in the World Series by the Cincinnati Reds because stupid Chris Sabo and Billy Bleepin Hatcher couldn't make an out, and Eric Davis, was always a great. Sorry, I'm gonna stop now.
Triggered.
I was gonna stop right there. This may or may not have happened.
24 and 49 more minutes if you were a politician.
Yeah, I'm good. This may or may not have happened in a group chat recently too, so I'm just going to let it go right there. All right, that's a good spot for us to take a break on a show that ended up going an hour anyway, because I guess we just have a whole lot to say about nothing. We'll be back with you next week. We will dive into some running backs, trying to effort maybe a guest or two to come help us out with that as well, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, that'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy, do good, and live well. Enjoy the Final Four, everybody. It should be a lot of fun for college basketball fans this weekend, and we will talk to you next week.